Now to a developing story. Threats by President Donald Trump to deploy military troops to Chicago. This afternoon, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson responded, saying the city needs cooperation from the feds, not occupation.
That is not the role of the military. That is not the role. To send U.S. armed forces to cities across America is literally the antithesis to our democracy. Just a couple of weeks ago, we got over 150 guns off the streets of Chicago that were being trafficked in from states like Mississippi and Indiana. That is the type of cooperation that our police department engages in. What our police department will not engage in, we will not engage in a militarized, occupied force.
In an appearance this morning on CNN, former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel railed against the notion of National Guard troops patrolling downtown Chicago as purely political.
Is he going to try to put National Guard around Michigan Avenue or downtown? Or is he going to go into Englewood or other parts of the city that do have a crime problem and do have to be approached? And my guess is when you look at what he did in D.C., he's not going to actually deal with crime. This is an attempt to get the goods through customs. This is an attempt to deal with cities that are welcoming cities, known as sanctuary cities, and deal with immigration. This will not be about fighting crime.
Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy also criticizing the president's decision. He says it is not only illegal, that it is also needlessly putting service members in harm's way.
The men and women in uniform are some of our finest people. They're being put into a situation potentially that they're not trained for, that they didn't ask to do.
Well, other lawmakers also weighed in. Representative Mike Quigley called the move a, quote, gross overreach by a president who wants to cosplay as tough by bullying his own citizens. He called on the administration to fund police, violence interrupters, and drug intervention. Senator Tammy Duckworth, who served in combat in Iraq with the National Guard, called the potential deployment deeply disturbing, adding, "We know this isn't about law and order because Trump is once again refusing to coordinate with state and local officials. And if he really cared about health and safety, he would have cut millions of dollars, or he wouldn't have cut millions of dollars in gun violence prevention funding just weeks ago." Well, former Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson says it does take resources to fight crime, but not like this. He believes the presence of the military would actually do more harm than good.
We've done a lot in Chicago, in my opinion, to repair the trust between the police department and the communities that we serve. Here you have the National Guard coming in that'll be here for however length of time we're talking about, but they're not going to be able to establish those relationships like that. You know, if you see armed military outside of your door, how would you feel? You know, people don't like that.
Well, Johnson says the military would provide what he called the scarecrow effect, meaning it would work for a while, but it wouldn't deter criminals for long.